The moment you stop reacting, you become dangerous. Not loud, not violent, not aggressive. Dangerous in a way most people don't understand. Because the world is addicted to reactions. They provoke you to measure your strength. They insult you to test your insecurity. They ignore you to check your desperation. They gossip to watch you defend yourself. And the second you react, they win. There was a boy who learned this too late. His name doesn't matter, because this story is not about him. It's about you. He grew up believing that defending himself was strength. Every time someone mocked his dreams, he argued. Every time someone underestimated him, he explained. Every time someone disrespected him, he raised his voice. He thought he was standing tall. But in reality, he was dancing on strings. People knew exactly which words would make him explode. They knew which buttons to press. They knew how to pull him into emotional battles. And every time he reacted, they smiled inside. Because when you react, you reveal your weakness. You show what controls you. One day at work, his colleague tried something new. Instead of direct insult, it was subtle, a sarcastic comment in front of others. "You sure you can handle this project?" Laughter followed. His chest tightened. His hands felt warm. His mind screamed, "Say something, prove yourself." But this time, something strange happened. He stayed silent. Not because he was weak, not because he had no answer, but because he was tired of performing. The room felt awkward. His colleague waited. People expected a comeback, a defense, a reaction. Nothing came, just calm eyes. And in that silence, something shifted. The colleague repeated himself, louder this time. Still nothing. And suddenly, the confidence drained from the one who was trying to provoke him. Because when you don't react, the game collapses. You see, control is an illusion built on your response. If I insult you and you get angry, I control you. If I ignore you and you beg for attention, I control you. If I criticize you and you rush to explain, I control you. But if I insult you and you remain still, now I'm uncomfortable. Now I'm exposed. Now I look foolish. Silence is not empty. Silence is power compressed. That boy started experimenting with it. At home, when family members compared him to others, instead of arguing, he nodded and continued his work. When friends doubted his vision, instead of defending it, he smiled slightly. When someone tried to start drama through messages, he left it on scene. And something fascinating happened. The same people who once tried to dominate him began losing balance. Because they were used to resistance. They were used to energy. They were used to emotional chaos. But when they faced stillness, they faced themselves. And most people are terrified of themselves. Here's the truth no one tells you. When you react emotionally, you're easy to predict. When you stay calm, you become impossible to manipulate. The world feeds on impulse. Impulse is weakness disguised as passion. Think about it. Why do arguments escalate? Because both sides react. Why do toxic people keep provoking? Because it works. Why does disrespect continue? Because you reward it with emotion. The boy realized something brutal. Every reaction was proof of insecurity. If someone calls you stupid and you burn inside, a part of you fears it might be true. If someone questions your worth and you rush to defend it, you are still seeking validation. If someone tries to make you jealous and you fall for it, you are still dependent. But when you truly know yourself, you don't need to react. And that is when people begin to lose control. There was a day that tested him deeply. A major presentation, months of effort, late nights, silent sacrifices. Right before he began, the same colleague whispered, "Let's see how badly you mess this up." The old version of him would have snapped, but this time, he looked at him calmly and said nothing. Not a smile, not anger, just neutral. The colleague shifted uncomfortably. During the presentation, that same colleague tried interrupting. "Are you sure about those numbers?" The room turned tense. All eyes on him. This was the moment. React and defend aggressively, or stay composed? He took a slow breath. "Yes," he said simply, and continued. No emotional charge, no ego, just certainty. And for the first time, the interruptions stopped, because confidence without noise is intimidating. After the meeting, something unexpected happened. The colleague approached him alone. "You've changed," he said. He didn't respond. "You used to argue more." Still silence. And in that silence, the colleague confessed something shocking. "I just wanted to see if I could get to you." There it was. The truth behind most behavior. People provoke to feel powerful. They test you to measure themselves. They attack to hide their own insecurity. But when you don't react, they lose the mirror. They lose the game. And they lose control. But this was just the beginning. Because staying silent externally is easy. The real war is inside. When your mind screams to defend, when your ego burns, when your pride demands retaliation, that's where mastery begins. And that's where part 2 unfolds. Because silence is not suppression, it is control. And control changes everything. The hardest silence is not the one you show the world. It is the one you practice inside your own head. Because when someone disrespects you, the real battle begins within seconds. Your heart races, your thoughts explode, your ego sharpens its knives. You replay their words again and again. You imagine comebacks, you build arguments in the shower, you rehearse speeches they will never hear. And even if you say nothing, inside, you are reacting violently. That is not power. That is emotional imprisonment. The boy learned this the hard way. Externally, he had mastered calmness. Internally, he was still burning. He would go home and replay moments in his mind. Why didn't I say this? I should have destroyed him with that line. They think I'm weak? And then one night, something clicked. He realized if their words still control his thoughts hours later, he is still reacting. Silence outside means nothing if chaos lives inside. True control is not about looking calm. It is about becoming untouchable. And untouchable people are rare, because most humans are emotionally addicted to reaction. They crave drama. They crave validation. They crave proving themselves. Why? Because they don't feel secure alone. One evening, he faced a deeper test. A close friend betrayed him, shared something private, twisted it into gossip. When he found out, the pain was sharp. His chest felt heavy, his pride shattered. He wanted revenge, expose them, confront them, cut them down with words. But he paused. He asked himself one brutal question. If I react, what do I gain? Temporary satisfaction, temporary ego relief, but long-term peace? Destroyed. So he did something radical. He withdrew his energy. No confrontation, no explanation, no dramatic exit, just distance. And that silence hit harder than any argument could. Because when you argue, you show you care deeply. When you calmly detach, you show you value yourself more. The friend eventually approached him. Why are you acting different? He looked at them calmly. I'm not acting, I'm adjusting. That sentence changed everything. See, when you stop reacting, people are forced to confront their own behavior. But when you argue back, they focus on your reaction instead of their mistake. This is why silence is uncomfortable for manipulators. They need your response to survive. Toxic people feed on reaction like oxygen. Take it away, and they suffocate. But here's the deeper truth. Sometimes the person losing control is not them, it's you. Because the moment you stop reacting, you face something terrifying. You face your ego. You realize how much of your personality was built on proving yourself. You notice how often you seek approval. You see how much validation matters to you. And that realization hurts. The boy began journaling, not about others, about himself. Why do certain words trigger me? Why do I fear being misunderstood? Why does disrespect feel unbearable? And the answers were uncomfortable. He wasn't reacting because he was strong. He was reacting because he was insecure. He wanted to be seen as capable. He wanted to be respected. He wanted to be admired. And there is nothing wrong with that. But when your need for respect controls your behavior, you become predictable. And predictable people are easy to manipulate. So he trained himself. When insulted, he would observe his heartbeat. When criticized, he would breathe deeply before responding. When ignored, he would focus on his mission. Slowly, something incredible happened. He stopped caring about being misunderstood. He stopped chasing validation. He stopped needing the last word. And when you no longer need the last word, you win every argument without speaking. Months passed. His energy shifted. People who once tried provoking him stopped trying, not because they respected him, but because they couldn't control him. There's a silent rule in human psychology. People test boundaries. If you explode, they push again. If you defend constantly, they challenge again. If you remain composed, they hesitate. Because calmness creates psychological pressure, and pressure exposes weakness. One day, someone much more powerful tested him. His boss publicly criticized his work harshly. Not constructive, not professional, just dominance. The room went silent. Everyone expected a reaction. Anger, defense, embarrassment. He felt the heat rise in his body, but he remembered something. Control your reaction, or it will control your future. So he nodded. "Thank you for the feedback," he said calmly. No sarcasm, no passive aggression, just composure. After the meeting, colleagues whispered, "How are you so calm? That was humiliating." But he didn't feel humiliated. He felt powerful, because humiliation only works if you accept it. If someone tries to shame you and you remain steady, they look insecure. And slowly, something interesting happened. His boss began treating him differently, less aggression, more respect. Why? Because dominance only works on those who submit emotionally. The moment you show stability, the power dynamic shifts. But here's the twist. This story is not about controlling others. It is about controlling yourself so deeply that others lose control trying to move you. And that level of self-mastery, it changes your entire life. But there was one final test waiting for him, one that would reveal whether he truly understood the power of non-reaction, and it would cost him something big, very big.
The final test doesn't come when you are ready. It comes when you least expect it. After months of discipline, silence, and emotional control, he felt transformed, stronger, sharper, untouchable. And life noticed. A major opportunity appeared, a promotion, higher salary, recognition. He worked quietly, no announcements, no boasting. But success attracts attention, and attention attracts envy. Rumors began spreading. He's manipulating management. He acts calm, but he's fake. He thinks he's superior. Old triggers tried to wake up. He felt that familiar urge to defend himself publicly, clear his name, confront the gossip. But he paused again. If I react, I validate the rumor. If I stay steady, time will expose truth. Days became heavy. People treated him differently. Whispers followed him into rooms. He felt isolated. And this is the hardest part of non-reaction, when silence makes you lonely, when standing firm feels like standing alone. He questioned himself. Maybe I should explain. Maybe they misunderstand me. Maybe silence makes me look guilty. But then he understood something powerful. You cannot control perception. You can only control character. So he kept working. No drama, no explanations, just consistency. Weeks later, leadership conducted evaluations. Performance spoke louder than rumors. Results destroyed gossip. And the promotion, he got it. But here's the real twist. The people who spread rumors began losing credibility. Because when someone attacks a calm, consistent person, and that person never reacts, observers start questioning the attacker. Non-reaction is a mirror. It forces others to see themselves clearly, and most people don't like that reflection. The biggest surprise came from one of the rumor's starters. They approached him quietly. "I thought you would fight back," they admitted. He looked at them calmly. "Why would I fight something that isn't true?" That answer shattered them. Because lies need resistance to survive. Truth stands without noise. And in that moment, he realized something deeper. The power of non-reaction is not about winning battles. It is about conserving energy for growth. Every time you react emotionally, you leak energy. Energy that could build your body. Energy that could build your career. Energy that could build your mind. When you stop reacting, you redirect power inward, and inward power becomes unstoppable. Years later, someone asked him the secret to his success. He didn't mention strategies. He didn't mention skills. He said one sentence: "I stopped giving reactions to people who didn't deserve my energy." That's it. Because attention is currency, emotion is currency, and when you hand it out freely, you become poor. But when you guard it wisely, you become wealthy in peace. Now, listen carefully. This doesn't mean you accept disrespect. It means you respond strategically instead of reacting emotionally. Reaction is impulse. Response is control. Reaction is ego. Response is strength. And here is the ultimate truth. The moment you stop reacting, you expose who relies on controlling you. You expose who thrives on chaos. You expose who feels threatened by your calm. And most importantly, you discover how powerful you truly are. Because real power is quiet. Real confidence doesn't argue. Real strength doesn't shout. And the most dangerous person in the room is the one who cannot be emotionally moved. So next time someone tries to provoke you, let the silence breathe. Watch their eyes. Watch their discomfort. Watch who loses control. And in that stillness, realize something beautiful. It was never about controlling them. It was about mastering you. And once you master your reaction, no one can ever control your life again.